The Aussie dollar skyrockets. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because, well, the Aussie dollar is skyrocketing. Before we have a look at this article by Jason Murphy, as I'm recording this, we're sitting at 76.010008 US cents for every Australian dollar. And let's jump out with this trading economics chart. You can see, well, we're climbing right back up there. Remember when it was over $1, guys? You'll remember that. That's when we purchased some equipment overseas. Never came through, and we got a refund when the Aussie dollar was a lot lower, so it's fantastic. But there you go. I mean, one could say the Aussie dollar is getting stronger, or really, it's just the US dollar getting weaker. So let's have a look at this article here. The strong Australian dollar suddenly sees the average Aussie looking a lot richer. Well, on the global stage, yes, we are, and our property is not going to seem as affordable to people coming from overseas. What's even more depressing, if you look at how much property costs over in the US, guys, it's just shocking what people get away with. Same technology, and they're not building that much different over there to us. So, Australia, you just got richer. The median Aussie household has thousands of extra dollars they may not even have noticed. Let me explain. It's not money you'd expect, and it's not money that will be easy to use, but for some people it's a bonanza. Here's why. Our dollar has gone up. You now have way more money. Well, you do it so long as you're happy with US dollars. Say you have $100,000 in total net assets back on January 1, 2020. You could swap that money for $70,000 US dollars. Well, if we jump back here, if you swapped it in March, you could get around, I think we were under 50 cents. Did we get under 60? Yeah, we did. If you did it at 2000, we were under 50. Around then, remember that, everyone. Like 45 US cents to the Aussie dollar. If you do the same now, you get $76,000. That's 6,000 US more for doing nothing. I mean, there you go. It's the Aussie dollar versus the US dollar shooting up. Basically, all Australians are playing the currency markets whether we know it or not. Well, yeah, everyone is. If you have any money at all, you're betting on the Aussie dollar. Our assets are in Australian dollars, so when the Aussie dollar goes up, we get richer in the rest of the world. Yes, you're basically a currency investor, even if you've never thought about it like that. I mean, it's good that he's introducing this concept to a whole lot of people that may not have even have thought about it. It's going to have flow-on effects, though. It means everything that people come to Australia for is going to seem more expensive. Our exports are going to generally be more expensive, although I imagine most of them, the contracts are already defined in US dollars. But the cost of tourism for the average consumer is going to be more expensive coming here to Australia. Not that really matters much anymore. The cost of university education, now that's the big one. You know, we had over 260,000 just Chinese students here in 2019, propping up a lot of our tertiary and high and other education organizations. And, well, here's the thing. You don't go to Australia for, the wonderful things of Australia. It's like a cheaper version of America or Europe. If our education gets too expensive, you can get better quality stuff at comparable prices in the States then. That's something to consider. We're competing globally there as well. But also, if the dollar goes higher, the cost of outsourcing is going to get more expensive. So businesses that outsource work overseas, all of these things, it's all going to get more... Well, no, actually, hang on. It's going to get cheaper to outsource overseas. It's going to get more expensive to, use the labor here locally. That's another concern. It's going to be more expensive for people overseas to outsource to Australia, which does happen occasionally, particularly with online services. So you just got to think about that. All the Australians now that are working, here in Australia, working remotely from home, what if your job can be done remotely? It can also be done remotely overseas. And say if you're paying someone in US dollars in other countries where it's worth less, maybe in the Philippines or Vietnam, their currency is worth less to the US dollar, they're going to get more bang for their buck. So there might be more incentive to offshore work. So this isn't necessarily you have to understand the implications of this. Of course, if you stay in Australia the whole time, one Aussie dollar always equals one Aussie dollar. currency fluctuations don't matter too much, especially while we can't leave the country or go on holiday. But if you're considering moving to another country, then timing it with movements in the currency markets can either make you money or save you money. Up above, I gave an example of someone with $100,000 who is now $6,000 richer in US dollar terms. Having $100,000 sounds nice, but it's actually a small sum by Australian standards. The median Australian has way more than that. As the next chart shows, median household wealth was over $500,000 in 2018. Yeah, but how much of that was in liquid wealth? How much of that could easily be liquefied? You know, if it's sitting in property, it's a bit of a process to turn that into a liquid asset, you know, compared to shares or actual cash. Because, yeah. So if you had the median sum, this year's currency rise, you won $30,000, you would now have over US $380,000. And you could get a really nice house in the US for that money. Back in January, you could not afford to buy this charming 3-bed, 4-bathroom house outside Palm Springs, California. Now, with the currency appreciation, you can buy it in cash. Hopefully, you like golf. I mean, it's depressing for Australians to look at US property. It is. For what we get for our money is a joke. Here in Queensland, you know, for what you get, even the apartments that people are buying, these new modern ones, they're these rendered boxes in the sky. Rendered sky boxes with huge bodgy corporate fees and questionable construction sometimes. So, of course, not everyone is as rich as each other. Australia has poorer people and rich people. To get to the top 1% of households, you need over $9 million in assets. The top 1% has gained $500,000 in US terms to the rise in currencies. They previously couldn't afford this 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom home in Beverly Hills. Now they can. For most Australians, the biggest single determinant of how much wealth we have is how old we are. We start off with nothing and we rise up. As the next chart shows, wealth peaks at the end of your working life in your early 60s. So there you go. And then people are, you know, going down. Those people, the ones about to retire, have gained the most from the currency appreciation. They're also the ones with the biggest opportunity to potentially go and spend their money overseas. The rest of us have to work, unfortunately. Their Airbnb in Malibu will now work out much cheaper in Australian dollar terms. What's the point of this article, Jason? What's the point of it? You're trying to introduce... I mean, my concern is the higher the Australian dollar goes, it's going to mean that we're less competitive on the global scale for tourism, education, and exports. But also it means that offshoring work is going to be more appealing to Australian businesses. They're the two takeaways I have from this. I mean, the rest of this is kind of... I guess it's introducing the topic to the average punter who probably hasn't thought about it. But, okay. I mean, you tell me if any of this was a surprise. You know, I mean, how many of you actually earn money in US dollars? I mean, the the people who support me on Patreon, thank you very much. That all comes in US dollars. And so I maintain that in PayPal just to see what I'm going to do with it. If I flip it over to Australian, or if I'm buying something for the channel, I sometimes will keep it in US dollars, because a lot of the equipment is imported, everyone. So of course, Australia's dollar is still only 76 US cents. It has shot up to its highest level since early 2018, but it's not that high in historic terms. In 2011, the dollar was briefly over US $1.10, and going to America became really cheap. Places that seemed out of reach, New York, Aspen, etc., started to seem as cheap or at least affordable. The huge rise in the Australian dollar came after the last economic crisis in the US, when Australia's economy was much better than America's. If the pattern repeats, we could see our dollar get a fair bit higher still. If that happens, see you in LA. Well, I mean, here's the thing. How many of you are investing in US stocks or companies? How many of you are investing in gold or precious metals? How many of you are investing in Bitcoin? I mean, I'll do another video, but Bitcoin is at all-time highs now. I think it breached $24,000. All of this, we jump here, we can see. Let's have a look at we've got the US to Euro, US to Great British Pound, US to the New Zealand dollar. We can have a look there. Look at that. Go to 10 years. There you go. It's climbed up in the Euro, the British Pound. It's climbing up in the Pound, the New Zealand dollar, the Kiwis. It's climbing up significantly in the Kiwi dollar as well. So what does this say? Well, it's not that we're all suddenly getting, our economies are getting stronger against the US. The value of the US dollar is going down. So, I mean, those are my concerns from this. It's not the fact that, you know, people can feel better that they've got more money. It's the risk that this imposes to other aspects of the economy, particularly outsourcing, particularly the move away from working in offices and potentially outsourcing work. I mean, I've encountered that in my profession with other businesses that are outsourcing. I've had coffee with business owners that have an entire drafting team working overseas. And that's a challenge that you have to adapt to here in business. It's just something to keep in mind. How can Australia compete with that? This is where I'd advocate for special economic regions, where we reduce the burden on businesses to employ people, and we reduce the burden of the state on the people working. You think Australia is brave enough to experiment like that, to see if we can compete on a more global, in the global world that we're in now? We'll have to see. So what do you think, everyone? Are you excited about the Australian dollar getting stronger? And what are your plans to take advantage of it? Do we have any currency traders watching the channel? I know we have a few. How are you going with it? As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.